Hi everybody, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tara, and this is our first screencast.
As part of our work to create common district exams, our goal with this screencast is to allow for self-reflection on your understanding of the Common Core state standards.
Please respond to the corresponding questions on the form as we move along.
The first standard is reading, key ideas and details. Students will read closely to determine what the text says explicitly and to make logical inferences, and students will cite specific evidence for support.
Students will determine central ideas or themes of a text and analyze their development. Students will also summarize the key supporting details and ideas.
And students will analyze how and why individuals, events, and ideas develop and interact over the course of a text.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions on the form.
The next standard is reading, craft, and structure. Students will interpret words and phrases for technical, connotative, and figurative meanings, and students will analyze how specific word choices shape meaning or tone.
Students will also analyze the structure of text, including how specific sentences, paragraphs, chapters, or scenes relate to each other and the whole.
And students will assess how point of view or purpose shapes the content and style of a text.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions.
The next standard is reading, integration of knowledge and ideas. Students will integrate and evaluate content presented in diverse formats and media, such as visual, quantitative, and in words.
Students will also delineate and evaluate the argument and specific claims in a text for validity and the reasoning, and relevance and sufficiency of the evidence.
And students will analyze how two or more texts address similar themes or topics in order to build knowledge or to compare the approaches the authors take.
Please note on the form that we have separated these into 3 separate areas. Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions.
The next standard is reading, range, and level of text complexity. Students will read and comprehend complex literary and informational texts independently and proficiently.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions.
The next standard has to do with writing, text types and purposes. Notice on your form you're going to be responding to 3 separate categories here too. First, students will write arguments to support claims in an analysis of substantive topics or texts using valid reasoning and relevant and sufficient evidence.
Students will also write informative or explanatory text to examine and convey complex ideas and information clearly and accurately through the effective selection, organization, and analysis of content.
And students will write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences or events using effective technique, well-chosen details, and well-structured event sequences.
Please consider the 3 separate areas, argument, informative, and narrative writing, when answering the questions on the corresponding form.
The next standard is writing, production, and distribution. Students will produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, purpose, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience.
Students will also develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revising, editing, rewriting, or trying a new approach.
And students will use technology, including the internet, to produce and publish writing and to interact and collaborate with others.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions on your form.
The next standard is writing research to build and present knowledge. Students will conduct short as well as more sustained research projects based on focused questions, demonstrating understanding of the subject under investigation.
Students will also gather relevant information from multiple print and digital sources, assess the credibility and accuracy of each source, and integrate the information while avoiding plagiarism.
And students will draw evidence from literary or informational texts to support analysis, reflection, and research.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions.
The next standard is writing, range. Students will write routinely over extended time frames, time for research, reflection, and revision, and shorter time frames, a single sitting or a day or two, for a range of tasks, purposes, and audiences.
Please pause the screencast at this time and consider both the extended and shorter time frames when answering the questions.
The next standards have to do with speaking and listening, comprehension, and collaboration. Students will prepare for and participate effectively in a range of conversations and collaborations with diverse partners, building on others' ideas and expressing their own clearly and persuasively.
Students will also integrate and evaluate information presented in diverse media and formats, including visually, quantitatively, and orally.
And students will evaluate a speaker's point of view, reasoning, and use of evidence and rhetoric.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the questions on the form.
Speaking and listening, presentation of knowledge and ideas. Students will present information, findings, and supporting evidence such that the organization, development, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience, and listeners can follow the line of reasoning.
Students will make a strategic use of digital media and visual displays of data to express information and enhance understanding of presentations.
And students will adapt speech to a variety of contexts and communicative tasks, demonstrating command of formal English when indicated or appropriate.
Please pause the screencast at this time and answer the corresponding questions on the form.
Language conventions. Students will demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when writing or speaking.
Students will demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English capitalization, punctuation, and spelling when writing.
So for this standard, just kind of reflect on your own. You really don't need to fill anything out on the form. And the same thing for this next standard, knowledge. Students will apply knowledge of language to understand how language functions in different contexts, to make effective choices for meaning or style, and to comprehend more fully when reading or listening.
This next standard in language, vocabulary acquisition and use, we would like you to reflect on the corresponding form. Students will determine or clarify the meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words and phrases by using context clues, analyzing word parts, and consulting general and specialized reference materials.
Students will demonstrate understanding of figurative language, word relationships, and nuances in word meanings.
Students will acquire and use accurately a range of general academic and domain-specific words and phrases sufficient for reading, writing, speaking, and listening at the college and career readiness level.
At this time, please pause the screencast and answer the appropriate questions on the form.
Finally, we'd like you to look at this whole experience overall and give us a reflection on your answers. The first question is asking, what patterns do you see in your responses?
And the second question asks, how well do your current assessments reflect the balance of attention to the various standards?
Thank you for doing this work ahead of time so that we can discuss this independently as English departments on August 27th and together as a district on our full district meeting on September 10th. We are looking forward to it. Thanks again.
Thanks. Hope you enjoy the screencast.
Bye.